from my heart. So will you join in with me in praise? My soul loves Jesus. My soul loves Jesus. My soul loves Jesus. Bless his name.
Today is May 30th, 2021. We are at the home of Pastor Lucious Pope in Compton, California. And we are here to just kind of record his memories of his childhood, his ancestors, his family, his life history, whatever it is he's willing to share with us. And kind of just like a bridging the past with the present and creating a record for posterity for future generations. So we thank you, Cousin Lucious, for being willing to participate and share your life story with us. We'd be happy to hear whatever it is you'd like to share. I have some questions I'd like to ask, and anything else you'd like to add in addition to the questions that I have is perfectly all right. Whatever you'd like to share.
Well, I want to thank you for coming and for considering me worthy of all of this. I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm anxious to get a copy of it myself.
Absolutely.
So I have no questions that you should not ask. Just ask away. And most of them I don't know, but I'll answer them to the best of my ability.
All right.
Sure will.
Okay, well, I guess we should start at the beginning, as far back as you can remember. Let's talk about what type of child was little Lucious Pope.
Believe it or not, I was a good little boy. That's what Mom said. Anyway, I born back in the country in the little town called Ringgold, Louisiana. I'm sure you heard of that. You've been there. And a couple of times, Mom took me by the site where I was born. The house was no longer there, but it was a nice piece of land. June 13th, 1938. So on next 2 Sundays from now, I'll be, I guess it's all right to say,
It's all right.
I'll be 83 years old.
Praise God. Praise
And I never got into trouble to speak of, never had to go to jail. Anybody ask me, I can proudly say I've been in the jailhouse twice in my life. One was when I got my driver's license back in Ringgold at age 15. That's the place I had to go to sign up. And it was a little country jail there, one cell and all that. And the second time was when I was a fireman in Galveston, Texas. We went there to visit a couple of the female sections of the prison. So those are the only time I ever went inside of a jailhouse. Thank God for that. I was an average student, I guess, with a lot of buddies. I had an unusual name at the time growing up, through the 10th grade at least, which was given to me by my first cousin, Levada Pope Crawford. She named me Lucious. I don't know why my mom accepted that, but she did. And so anytime I was walking across the campus or in and out of the classrooms in Ringgold, I finished the 10th grade there. You would hear people say, "Hey, Lucious," no big deal. "Hey, how are you?" And that was it. Of course, it was different when I moved. My dad moved to Galveston, Texas. But I was not a A+ student. Never was, but I managed to pass each grade without having to take one over again. And of course, my running buddy was your Uncle John L. And he was one of the greatest tenor voices I'd ever known. And when we could get him to sing. John had the nicest voice I've ever heard as a tenor. And we sing a lot together growing up in high school through the 10th grade. We traveled quite a few places as soloists. They would have in Bienville Parish the finest baritone and tenor soloists available. And he and I would always come out in our respective areas superior. I was the superior baritone, and he was one of the superior tenors. And we traveled throughout Louisiana, even from the parish. You know, Louisiana has parishes rather than counties. So we'd win our places in the parish, and then we'd go on to the state competition in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at Southern University. We would always end up superior there too. Superior tenor, superior baritone. And we had a quartet. Willie James Cobb and George Calloway, John L. and myself. We would end up the same thing wherever we went, superior. We traveled to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, with the solo and the tenor. Of course, we all came out, soloist, quartet, everything came out superior. We ran up on a quartet in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that was from Kilgore, Texas. They were some singing boys. And I mean, they could sing. But the judge gave us superior. So when I left there, we were leaving out of the gymnasium and the what do you call that thing? Where you stayed in
dormitory.
Dormitory. I'm that old, I guess. And the guys that came in next to us from Kilgore was outside arguing with the referee, with the judges, swearing that they beat us singing. But we got the superior part, so we weren't worried about it. We came on back to Ringgold.
Okay.
But I was, as far as a kid was concerned, I was a pretty good kid, I think. I chopped and picked cotton like everybody else, worked in the cornfields, fed the hogs, stone country boy. But when I came to Galveston as a teenager, it was in July of '55 that Dad moved the family there. And school was opening up again in September. So my sister and I were registering. I was going to the 11th grade, and I think she was going to the 9th grade or something like that. But we were sitting in the assistant principal's office. He was filling out all the papers that we needed to be filled out to be enrolled probably. And then he asked me my name. And I said, Lucious. He looked at me. He said, Lucious? I said, yes, sir, that's my name. He said, don't you mean Lucious? He wouldn't even call me Lucious. He called me Lucious.
Lucious.
But anyway, from then on, a few weeks after that, I changed my name to Lucious. And it remained there until I went into the military in February of '61. And of course the military got a hold of some papers from New Orleans that said my name was Lyman, Limmon.
Oh, goodness.
So I got a little confused at that time. But I was also in show business, as we would call it. I did a little entertaining off and on before I went into the military. And then when I got into the military, I was still in what you call special services. That was entertainment.
What branch of the military?
Yeah, in the Army.
Army, okay.
I was in the Army. And then, of course, I wouldn't accept the name Lyman, so I decided, well, since I'm going to be singing around, I'm going to be Lamone Pope. And so you get all those names. That's how my son got the middle name, Lamone.
Christopher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Christopher Lamone.
Okay.
So we did well there too. And when I came out of the Army, of course, I was in a regular band. I was in a regular band before I went into the military, so they were waiting for me when I got out.
As a vocalist?
Yes.
You didn't play any instruments?
No, well, I played a saxophone, but I didn't play
really?
it in the band.
Ah, okay.
But I was the vocalist there.
Okay.
Dick Dickerson's trio, they called it. So everything went well for me as far as I was concerned. Again, I thank God that I was not wild enough to get on drugs or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But everything went well. And when I finally decided to leave the Galveston Fire Department, I went back to it when I came out of the military. And when I decided to leave the Galveston Fire Department, I moved to Los Angeles, where my brother lived.
Which brother is that?
Lynn.
Okay.
I only had one. He's dead now.
Okay, he lived here before you did.
Oh yes,
Okay.
yeah. He was.
The
He
first
and
to come to
Reginald
California.
were hanging out together in Los Angeles when I moved here.
Now tell me about before you move on to L.A.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that you actually made some history as a Galveston fire.
Yes, I was one of the first black firemen in Galveston. As a matter of fact, I was the first one on the shift. I don't know when the other two took their tests, but I went to work first. I was on the A shift.
Mm-hmm.
It was a station on 29th and I forget even the name of the street.
What year?
29th and Market.
And about what time? What year was this?
November of '57
Okay.
is when I began. And I stayed there until I went into the military. And after 3 years in the Army, I came back and went back to the fire department for another year. I was always really officially what they call a hose and ladderman.
Mm-hmm.
I was totally welcome there, according to what they were saying. They fixed it. They had a kitchen of their own, the white firemen. and they fixed the kitchen in the back of them for me, or for the black firemen.
That was your welcome, huh? Your
That
total.
was my welcome.
Oh boy.
Not only that, but they slept in a big hall as a bedroom upstairs. And they built me a separate bedroom over on the side over there.
Oh my goodness. And were at that time, were you the only black?
No. By that time, there were 3 of us.
Okay.
The 3 had come on right after me.
Okay.
The 2 others.
And so all of you were separated from your white counterparts.
Yeah, we were all separated.
Oh boy.
And when the alarm rang for fire, I had to run out of my bedroom, run through theirs to get on the pole and slide down at the back of the truck. And that's where I rode, on the back of the truck for years. But they finally, believe it or not, built a pole back where I was sleeping. And so I wouldn't have to run up through their space.
Oh wow.
I just run out of my room, jump on the pole, slide down, then run up to the back of the truck.
Oh my.
We had a man there that was a black man that was running for fire and police commissioner. And he made an issue of that pole in his campaign, so they took it down.
Okay.
And I had to run up again through their space and slide down the pole.
Wait, so they got rid of the
pole.
segregated pole,
Yeah.
but you were still segregated
I
in
was
your own
still
little
segregated, yeah,
area.
in the sleeping area
In sleeping
and
area.
in the eating area.
Okay, wow. So how did the other, the white firemen treat you other than separating you? I mean, did you have any camaraderie or
I had
at all?
a couple of guys that were quite nice. One of my captains, Paul, I don't remember Paul's last name. It might have been Paul Martin or something, but he was quite nice and treated me fair. At least I was able to sit in their TV room with them and watch TV.
How about eating? Separate?
Oh yeah, they had a kitchen back there separate.
Oh,
from-
kitchen. Okay, you
Yeah.
did say separate. Wow.
Yeah, they had that, but it was, by and large, I didn't expect really much more from them. When I got ready to resign from the fire department, they were quite cordial. The other guys stayed on, of course, and one of them left, and they're both dead now. But other blacks were hired now. They got black captains now, black fire marshals, and everything is all even. But this is when I first came on in 57, shortly after I graduated from high school. So it was no problem. I still have memories. And I got a call, excuse me, 2 weeks ago, or a month ago. They were going to have a memorial there on Mother's Day, this past Mother's Day, featuring Black History activities. So they called, wanted to know if I could come down, and I wasn't in any shape, health-wise, to fly down there. I couldn't go by myself. But they're supposed to send me one of the magazines they made doing Black History, showing the 3 black firemen. I got pictures out here now of the 3 of us. Leroy Small, Janoris Walker, and myself. And we got along pretty good. They wanted me to wash their cars when I was at the station. They wanted me to shine their shoes while I was there. And I was always say, okay, give me some money. And they soon cut that out.
Okay.
Yeah, they soon cut that out. So I didn't get a chance to wash any cars
Okay.
or shine any shoes.
You previously mentioned your parents. Just state their names, if you would, for the
Okay,
record.
my mom was Cheney Pope, Chanie. There's a big picture there on the wall. My dad, James Pope,
Okay.
back there on the corner of the mantelpiece together. Dad started out working at the Galveston airport when we first moved to Galveston. He was working at a service station before he left. And of course, I followed in his footsteps. I worked in that same service station as I grew up and going to high school in Ringgold. But he had a brother named Hugh Pope that was the reason we moved out there in the first place. He often thought Dad could get a better job, and he did at the airport. And of course, later on, when the airport closed down, he went back to the service stations. But we were members of the Mount Zion Baptist Church there in Ringgold until we moved to Texas. And then we joined the Live Oak Baptist Church. That's where my uncle was a member of. And Uncle Hugh was one of the ministers there at Live Oak. So we went there, enjoyed it. Nice church. It still exists today. Of course, the minister that was there has been long gone, passed away. But it was a nice life. Galveston was a nice life. A seaport town. In fact, Galveston is an island itself. And we did a lot of fishing. But I never could eat a whole lot of any oysters. I didn't like any oysters. But those guys at the fire station would go out. We would work one day on 24 hours and we were off 48 hours. And during those 48 hours off, they'd go out there in the Gulf and catch all kind of oysters and bring them back to the station. Some they'd cook, some they'd eat raw. And I tried it both cooked and raw, and I couldn't hang with the oysters. So they were not my favorite. Most fish I would eat, but that's about it.
Okay. Have you become a good avid fisherman?
I thought I did pretty good. After I came here, I was asked to do revivals back in Ringgold. And the gentleman that was pastoring St. Mary Baptist Church, Henderson, let's see, Alan Henderson, I believe his name was an avid fisherman. And boy, every year I went there, did we fish. He, his brother, and I, now he would catch fish every year and have a fish fry for his church and any other church members that surrounding areas that wanted to come. So I thought, why can't I do that? So the three of us went out in 2 days. We caught 173 fish.
Oh my! And where was this?
That was in Ringgold at Lake Bristow.
Lake Bristow.
And there was part of it up there on the wall. We would go out in the boat, and we would find the fish. The problem was getting them back here. But I had that big cooler in the garage right now, where I packed them in. Cleaned them first. They came home with me. We got a house down there. And they came home with me and helped me clean all of them.
Wow.
And so I got that big cooler. I had to buy a bigger one because I couldn't get all of them in there. But I shipped them back here, and we had a fish fry at the church where I'm pastoring now, Greater New Vision on Martin Luther King Boulevard. It was one Saturday. I made the mistake of announcing it over the air. We were on the broadcast, regular broadcast, and we still are.
Uh-oh.
Man, they showed up. 9 on a mule, you might say. There was one that the fish fry wasn't until 1 o'clock. But I had the big cooker. I had all the stuff that goes over the fish. You pack them in that stuff that looked like a meal. Fish fry, they call it. One lady showed up at 9 o'clock in the morning. I didn't know who she was. She sat in the car a long time. So I went out to the car eventually. I said, "Ma'am, are you here for the fish fry?" "Yes, sir." I said, "It's not until 1 o'clock. That's 2 hours from now, at least." "That's all right. I'll be all right." She sat right there.
Oh, boy.
And at 1 o'clock, she was inside the fellowship hall waiting for the first fish to get done. she did. And when we came down, and it was pouring down rain on that Saturday, but they came.
Wow.
And she was the last one to get some fish. We ran out. She had sent for that last piece of fish, and one of my members says, Pastor, that lady's been eating fish all day. So I went over there. They didn't want to give it to her because she had been eating up all the fish. So I said, go ahead and let her have it. There's only one piece left. Let her have it. I went back into the kitchen, and the same lady that told me that the woman was eating up all the fish came to me and says, Pastor, see that bag under her feet there by the table? I said, yeah, what about it? She said, go look at it. I went over there and she had packed fish all in that bag.
Oh my goodness.
Taking it with her. So I said, okay, you're fussing now, she got the last piece.
Man.
But it was a fun deal.
Yeah.
I said, if I ever have another fish fry, I certainly won't announce it over there. No way.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's it, but it was a fun thing.
Yeah, it sounds like talk about fishermen, huh?
Oh yeah. I had a lot of fun out there on that lake.
Tell me your siblings' names in order of oldest to the youngest.
Okay. Right, in our family there were 5 children. The oldest was my only brother. His name was Lynn. Lynn Milton. His middle name came after one of my uncles. And as far as our talent was concerned, he was the bass of the family. You would think I was the bass the way I'm sounding now, but my second sibling was my oldest sister, Darcy, and they like to use the name May down there, so she was Darcy May. Darcy is now in a rest home. She has a touch of dementia, I believe they call it. But she's coming along well. Third sister is Dora May. Dora married one of the town boys, and they had 4 daughters who they all live in Chicago area now. My third member, let's see, Lennon, Darcy, Dora. She was the third member. Dora was. Then there was me, Lucious, which I don't use that name anymore, of course. But I was the baby boy, they always call me, and Mom's favorite, I guess. So they thought I was a little spoiled or something. Anyway, the baby of the family was Mattie Jewell, my baby sister, who now lives in Austin with her daughter. And so we all got along fine. We had to pick cotton together, pull corn together, tote watermelons together, and tomatoes, stuff like that. But we were fine. We did fine. We had a good family. My mom and dad always looked after us and kept us in church. I guess that's why we turned out pretty good. But we were a family. There was 5 kids and 2 parents. And I don't ever remember going hungry. Unless I just happen to stay away from home and miss a meal. That's about it.
Besides singing with Lennon, seeing that he is the only of your siblings who is passed at this point, what are your fondest memories of him and what type of person he was?
Lynn was pretty much a loner. I can't remember any real important fun parts except we just got together. We were always behind the mule together, and he would always fuss at me if I didn't get the wood in like I should next to the fireplace. But he was my brother. We were close. He went off into the Army. I think it was 1951, 52. But I remember when the first time he came home, I was the happiest brother in the world to see him. I had missed him so. But we were just brothers, nothing important. We sang together a lot. Of course, Reginald's dad was the superintendent of the black singing convention in Bienville Parish. So I still have a lot of songbooks from back there. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of them, but a few. But that's about it with us. He was up courting when I was still out in the woodpile, you know.
How many years are there between you two?
Let's see. Had to be about 6 years, I believe, 6 or 7.
Okay.
Can't remember. He died in 81, and he was 55 then.
Okay.
But it had to be 6 or 7.
Okay.
There wasn't too many years between the 5 of us. A year and a half at the most, maybe 2.
Mm-hmm. What are your memories of your mother and your father as far as what they were like?
Mom was an even-tempered, lovely woman, spiritually and any other way. Dad didn't, he didn't do much fussing, but when he fussed, you listened. He was out working a lot. And when he wasn't working, I don't know where he was at that time. Just move that wherever you want to move it, Doc. And, but they had their arguments, they had their disagreements and everything, but there was no trouble with with us children obeying them, because we knew what we'd get. Yeah, we knew what we'd get if we disobeyed. So it was a regular normal family. Got along with the neighbors as far as I could see. They would come and help us gather our crops. We'd do the same for them. Mom planted almost half an acre of black-eyed purple-hull peas at one year. And the nearest neighbor lived across the bayou from us. But she had an older daughter, and she came up and asked Mom if she could have some some of those peas out there. They were ripe. They were ready to pick. She said, "Oh yeah, go right ahead, help yourself." But what she didn't know was she had brought a great big pillowcase. And she didn't stop until she filled that pillowcase up.
Oh boy.
Full of purple peas. And boy, she had it packed. But we said, "Mama, look, she's going to take all of our peas." So Mama, we were in a garden somewhere or in the cotton field. And Mama dropped everything and started down that way, and this woman took off like mad. She got her peas and she went on home. So Mama was quite careful who she told could go to the pea patch.
Yeah, and help yourself. Huh?
Yeah, help yourself by that time. But we got along.
You are somewhat of a gardener or planter yourself, aren't you?
Not really. I'd like to try, but I have an orange tree in the backyard that I planted myself. About 25 years ago, somewhere like that. And it's a dwarf tree. It hasn't grown farther over my head than a couple of feet. And it puts out some of the most delicious navel oranges. But I haven't done a whole lot of planting. That plant over there, somebody gave it to me at the church.
Okay. Well, I was thinking of some of the pictures you've shared of your oranges. But that's from your orange tree. That's here
from one
in
tree.
Compton?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I got some back there I got to throw out because they're getting old and they're drawing insects. And so but the blooms were beautiful this year. The honeybees had a ball back there on the blooms, and so I got more oranges growing now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you've been in this home for how long?
Since 73. Yeah.
That's almost 50 years, huh?
Yeah. Bought it in, I don't know what month it was now, but the people who owned it were quite nice at selling it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it cost a little over $20,000 at the time.
Mm.
And I was selling insurance at the time, so, and my wife was a registered nurse.
Your name?
Alice Pope was her name, and we still talk from time to time. As a matter of fact, she sort of gave me some information concerning the bone marrow extraction, and gave me some suggestions as to how to get my head together, how to eat more food than I'm eating. So she's retired now, practitioner.
Okay.
But she's still on the ball.
Okay. And while we're on that subject, give us an update on your health.
Well, I seem to be doing all right health-wise. I still don't know why I can't eat like I should. Having come down from 210 pounds to under 140 pounds, it does concern. I am concerned about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the food just doesn't taste like it used to taste.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, with my daughter and my son that are here, they are making sure I'm well supplied with food.
Let's put their names on the record too.
Yeah, my son who lives here, his name is Christopher Lamone Pope. And I was telling him, as a matter of fact, yesterday he was over, how he got the middle name Lamone.
Mm-hmm.
It was from my entertaining name, Lamone Pope. But he's still trying to pass the bar for law school.
Mm-hmm.
He went to up in Berkeley. He graduated from college there, and then he went on to law school out here in Whittier Law School, I believe it's called. But he's working at a law firm now out in I believe it's in, well, it's out west somewhere. It's still in the LA area, but I can't think of the name of the city. He's been there some time. He's doing quite well. Quite well. He was working out of his office, but when the pandemic came along, everybody went home and worked from their home. And he just went back to his office last week, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still doing fine. And then my daughter's name is Charlotte. Charlotte Elise is her middle name. When she was born, there was a lady in Galveston, and that's where she was born, in Galveston, Texas. There was a lady there who had committed murder. Her name was Charlotte. I don't know what her middle name was, but I like that name, Charlotte.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Name.
So I said, well, I'm praying if I name her Charlotte, she won't get there and kill nobody.
So far, so good.
Yeah, so far, so good. Yeah, she's great. She's a wonderful girl.
And Charlotte is the oldest and Christopher is the youngest? Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. And what are your other children's names? In
Okay.
between?
Robert is in, what part of Ohio is he in? Some parts of Ohio. I didn't get to know him as well because I didn't know he was my son until he was 35 years old. So he's named Robert Mays Pope at this point, and he is married with a fine son in college, and they do great. They're doing great. There is Jonathan, I had 5 children. One is dead now. Shamarko was the last one I would mention, or could mention. He's the 5th child. You got Charlotte, Chris, Robert, Jonathan, then Shamarko. Shamarko was driving down a little street of Montclair, over on the west side somewhere. He loved to work on old cars. And he had a 65 Bel Air Chevy. I don't know if it was a Bel Air or whatever, but it was a 65 Chevy. He had worked on, guy that looked like brand new. And he was on his way to his brother's house when someone came up beside him and shot him in the head 3 times. We don't know who. I don't know who it was. They claim they found him. Because one of his brothers that claimed they found him was kind of a rough dude himself. But that Shamarko is my only one that, he's the only one that's passed away. The rest are still living. And as far as I know. Because I'm in communication with them all except Jonathan. I don't know where he is. I believe it was you that sent me some papers concerning some money that Shamarko had with the state. He had bought him a home had a duplex over on 64th Street, and he worked for the bus company. And so when he was killed, I did send the papers off. I had to let him have some money to help buy the home. So I figured now was the time for me to try to get mine back if I could, but they wouldn't give it to me for some reason. And so I had planned to have my tax person look into it. And he still has the opportunity to. He called the other day. He did my taxes, so he'll get with me next week.
Okay, good.
But those were my 5 kids.
Okay. And so the order is Charlotte, and then
Charlotte, Jonathan. It's kind of hard for me to put Robert in there because I'm not sure. I know his birthday was in June, just like Jonathan was June 19th. Robert was June 3rd. I'm June 13th. Let me see. Of course, Charlotte is Charlotte's birthday? October 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah, October 3rd. So I think Robert may be the oldest. I guess I better find out. And Jonathan next. Then there comes. No, Charlotte is the oldest. She was born way back. She's almost an old woman now.
Okay.
She's Charlotte, Robert, Jonathan, Shamarko, and then Chris. I believe that was the order in which they were born.
Okay.
But they were good kids too. All of them are. So,
now you previously had started to mention when you moved here. Lynn and Reg were already here. So tell me about your move to California.
When I moved to California, Lennon and his wife were on Lancet and Belhaven. That's where he was on. Belhaven. Drove just south, just west of Central Avenue.
That would be Norma?
Yeah, Norma.
No, okay.
I don't know what day I got in here. I left. Oh, it was just the day after Easter. I left Galveston at midnight on the Wednesday night before Easter, and I drove until my brake shoe got off.
By yourself?
Yeah. I had my clothes hanging on a clothes rack in the back of the car. Back seat, I had 56 Star Chief Pontiac. And I had bought it while I was in the Army, because there was a racetrack near my station. I was in El Paso, Texas, and there was a horse racing track right outside of El Paso. Can't remember the name of what they called it now. But me and some of my buddies would go out there every once in a while. And I happened to hit a jackpot out there for $1,300. So I came on back to the barracks just as quiet as I could be. But ended up, anyway, that's where I bought the Pontiac in El Paso.
Okay.
When I got out of the military, I drove it on home. And drove it all the way to California when I came out here. I left the Wednesday night before Easter in 61, I believe. And I got to LA. Spent the weekend in El Paso looking up some of my old buddies from the military, from the Army. I left out of El Paso Easter night, about midnight, Sunday night. And I arrived in Los Angeles Monday morning about 10 o'clock. So it was an experience, all right. But I had to stop and get some new brake shoes put on. And that was it. And when I got home, when I got to his house over on Bellhaven, did I say Bellflower before? But I think it's Bellhaven, I don't know. Drove up in the driveway, tooted my horn, got out, and he opened the door, his wife was on the couch asleep. I stayed with them for quite a while. And then I had a buddy. I wouldn't have called him a buddy at the time, but he was a friend from Galveston who had been a marshal, not a marshal, but a sheriff in Galveston. He had moved out ahead of me, moved out here ahead of me. So when I moved away from, let's see, at one time I stayed with Reg in his apartment building. I just can't remember which one first, Reg or the marshal or the sheriff. But I think it must have been the sheriff where I stayed at for a few years. Worked at Alcoa Aluminum for a while. And thought about getting on the fire department here, but I kept looking at the way they're running up and down these streets. I said, no, I don't think I want to be a fireman here. But I kept going until I ended up with the Golden State Mutual Insurance Company. And that's where I retired from after 10 years. I was pastoring also at the time that I retired, so I went full-time with the church.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you started, tell me about your call to the ministry, when that was, and how that came about.
That was quite an experience for me. If I would tell the truth, I should have been, if I had been spiritually mature enough, I would have been preaching at age 12. That was the desire of my heart. And I get choked up just about every time I start talking about it. But I was a little 12-year-old running around Ringgold. There was a little black boy that came to town, and he was apparently sponsored by some white folks. But he would preach on the streets in Ringgold every Saturday for a few weeks, and then they'd move on. And his first name was David. I won't ever forget it. I can't remember the last name. But something burned in my heart. Every Saturday I'd go uptown just to hear David preach. And believe it or not, he was a hooper. He was a hooper, and he didn't use any manuscripts. I heard him explain once why he didn't. He said, if I was preaching from a manuscript and the wind blew it off the platform, I'd be in bad shape.
Yeah.
And so I guess he was serious, but he could preach. But it grew in me and grew in me and it grew, and never left me. When I went into the Army, I would tell my buddies that I wanted to preach one day. And some of them would even laugh at me. But when I came out of the Army and went back to the fire department for a year, it was still in me. It wouldn't go away. And I was doing my entertaining, going into nightclubs and singing and all that stuff. And when I came to LA, it was still with me. And I began to pray. And I began to talk. I was singing with a sharp choral ensemble. It was a group that your Uncle Tansel was in, a religious group, and we would give the I don't know if you ever heard of the Wings Over Jordan. Oh, they were one of the finest harmonizing groups I've ever seen. But we would give them a run for their money. And so we stayed there. I would talk with some of them. And there was a girl in our group named Annie. I just learned the other day that Annie passed away. I didn't know about it. We were sitting talking one night after rehearsal, and I was sharing with her that I really feel the Lord wanted me to preach. And she made a statement. She said, well, what did she say? Why don't you get your Bible and ask the Lord to show you something in the Bible that will confirm what you're suspicious of. And believe it or not, I kept messing around. Finally, I picked up my Bible and was reading one night. I was staying on 40th and Halldale, my wife and I, and there was an upstairs bedroom. We were in bed about 1 o'clock at night, and I couldn't sleep. So I got up, came downstairs, got my Bible, and that's when it happened. I read Isaiah 42, and I was just reading nonchalantly, and finally I came across that verse that said, I, the Lord, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thine hand. And that's as far as I got. I didn't need to go any further. That hit me like a bombshell. And it was that night that I knew I didn't have to have any further proof. Stafford was assistant pastor at Paradise at that time. My first cousin, I don't know if you remember him or not.
Oh, yes. E.E.?
Yeah.
Definitely.
E.E.
For
Stafford
sure.
was
Oh,
my
yeah.
first cousin.
Oh, yeah.
They have a house out behind Paradise where the ministers usually go to relax after service or get ready for service. And I knew that if he was in town, I could find him there. And sure enough, he was out there with several other ministers. And they would play dominoes and carry on. But I really was looking for Pastor Iverson. But Stafford was there, and he told me that Pastor Iverson was out of town. But he called him. He was in Dallas, somewhere in Dallas area. He called him and told him what I had come over for. And said, Pastor Iverson, so, oh, that's it. He said, I had a dream about Lush and his daddy. he was down there. He said they were out in the ocean fishing, out in the river, the fishing lake down there. He said, all right, I'll be home such and such time. I don't remember when it was, but when he got back to L.A., he was waiting for me. So I walked in and told him. I didn't go through a whole lot of rigmarole. I just said, Pastor, I got to preach. He didn't ask any questions. He said, well, I'll get a date for you. Preach your first sermon. It was on a Wednesday night at Paradise that I preached. I don't know what kind of meeting he normally had on that night, but that was the night I preached. Well, wait a minute, let me think. Yeah, it was. And he eventually got my preaching license. And I've been going ever since. This was in February. I think I preached at Paradise on the second Sunday in February, 1971. And he kept going and going and going, and he kept putting his faith in me. After a while, here comes Reg. I said, oh Lord, the whole Pope family now.
Yeah.
There's Uncle Howard, he was preaching. And had a couple of other relatives.
Uncle Hugh at that time
Uncle
also?
Hugh was preaching at the time, yeah. I heard my dad out behind the barn trying to tune up a couple of times, but he never came through with it. Yeah.
So this was about 10 years after you arrived in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I came got in 61. Yeah, I announced my call in 71, I believe, yeah. And I have not regretted it 1 minute. Haven't looked back.
So when you first came here, it seems most of our family actually joined Paradise when they first arrived here. Did you also?
I did too.
Okay.
Been there. I've never moved my membership.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I knew that everybody that I knew from Ringgold was at Paradise,
Yeah.
just about.
Yeah.
And I still don't know many people that's not there. Well, after Pastor Iverson, AJ died, people did begin to scatter. Then after Stafford took Mount Tabor, some went there.
Okay.
So I don't know who's where right now.
Yeah. Do you remember the title of your first sermon or
Yeah.
the scripture?
The first sermon came from Psalms 23, I believe. There is no excuse for not trusting God. That was my title. And of course, I done preached it I don't know how many times now. But that was it. There is no excuse for not trusting God.
When did you become a pastor, and where was that?
My first pastor was at a little church on Hooper. There were 3 brothers who had been deacons back in Shreveport, and they were looking for a pastor. They had to organize a church there. And so I think one of them, I don't know where they came, what church they were, I think what church they came out of, I don't remember. I wanted to say one of them came from Paradise, but I don't think so. When I left that little church, it was in my goodness, must have been in 78, 77 or 78. They had asked me to come and try out there. And I did. They accepted me. Of course, these 3 men were some of the bossiest deacons I've ever seen. And I stuck it out until old man T.M. Chambers Sr. was pastoring McKinley Avenue Baptist on 51st and McKinley. He died. And of course, he had had a lot of trouble with his son getting in trouble. And he wanted the church after his dad died, but they wouldn't give it to him. So they called me over, and I went over to preach. And they asked me if I would be their pastor. I pastored McKinley Avenue for 5 years. But I think it was 78 when I started pastoring this little church over on Hooper, I believe it was. They named it after a church they had been into in Shreveport. Piney Grove number 2.
Mm-hmm.
That was the name of the church, Piney Grove. And we did okay. We did all right. I wasn't going to do much advancing there because they weren't going to let me.
Mm-hmm.
We had a little choir, but when they asked me to come over and preach at McKinley Avenue, I went back to Piney Grove, and one of the deacons, Frank somebody, he was the chairman of the deacon board. He asked me, what did I think? How did I feel? Do they like me? I said, I believe, sir. I said, I believe they're going to call me, I believe. He said, well, ain't no use you staying here. You can leave now. So I said, no, I ain't going nowhere until I'm officially dismissed or until I accept the call. So they called me next couple of weeks, and I left. Went on over to McKinley Avenue. And the chairman eventually, after a couple of years, or maybe a year and a half, so passed away over at Piney Grove. The one that told me I can go ahead and leave now. And his wife, when he passed away, his wife came over to McKinley and joined under me. So we did pretty good. I had some good talent over there, good people. Except the organ and musician, he was kind of, you know. And so I didn't bother that. And when I left, he was still there. But there was a time while he was there, for some reason or another, I had him moved from the instrument. And instead of leaving the church, he would come up every Sunday morning and sit right under the instrument in the choir stand. And when it come time for church was over, he'd get up and walk right on out. He wouldn't touch the instrument, but he'd sit right there under the instrument in the choir stand. There was some rough folks over there. So I made up my mind that I was going to leave McKinley Avenue. And the deacons had decided, had gotten word of it. And I went there one Sunday morning, and they wouldn't even let me in the church.
Oh.
They had given me my little stipend, and I couldn't come in. And they had sheriff's department all over the building.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I says, well, I won't go to my office except to pick up my briefcase. I had gone, put the briefcase in there. They wouldn't let me come to the pulpit. I said, well, let me get my material things, and I'm going. And so I went inside, picked up my briefcase, my hat, and walked down to the middle of the aisle in the sanctuary. And they were in there, pretty good number. Said to them, I have to apologize to all of you, but I can no longer preach here. I have to leave. So I'm leaving now. And I went through behind the stairway where the choir sits, out my office door instead of going all the way out the front door. When I got out of the office door, I looked back, and there were a gang of people, all young adults and youth, waiting for me out there. And someone came up, she said, Pastor, where you going? I said, I'm going to Paradise, my home church. And when I got to Paradise, most of them were at Paradise. And I told Pastor Iverson that I had just resigned from McKinley Avenue. He said, well, you need to preach. And I did need to preach. It was Mother's Day. I won't forget that. It was Mother's Day. And I preached from this passage of scripture. I can't recall it, in the passage where Jesus was hanging on the cross and he told John to look after his mom. And my subject was the dead-eye old mama. And that was it. So I've been going ever since. A couple of weeks later, we I had gone over to True Samaritan. I knew the pastor there. And he said, well, you're going to organize, you come over here and do it. And I let my little gang know, and the word got out. And I had 40 people on a Tuesday night organizing at True Samaritan Baptist Church. And we stayed there for almost a year in the church over on Florence where I was at. I don't know if you were ever there or not, but it was on Florence, 146 East Florence. There was a church there, and they had put the pastor out. And somehow some white man had bought the church. But anyway, it had pews, chairs in it, pulpit, everything. And I went over there. We moved from True Samaritan over there and called it Greater New Vision. That's the name of our church, Greater New Vision Missionary Baptist Church. Stayed there until this present church came available. And some of the people that were at this church over on McKinley Avenue, not on McKinley Avenue, but on King Boulevard, where I am now. Some of those people came out of Paradise. In fact, one of the pastors they put out, and the Jewish people had just abandoned the church or getting ready to sell it. And the pastor they put out came over and bought it. He brought a lot of members from Paradise there. But he himself, they put him out. No, he didn't come out of Paradise. Well, he might have come out of Paradise, but he had been pastoring them at McKinley Avenue. And they put him out of McKinley Avenue. And he came to this place and got the church. And then they put him out of that church, out of where I am.
Wow.
It was called Christ Baptist Church. And there was a rough bunch of folks, I tell you, at McKinley Avenue. Nobody could stay there.
And that may answer the question, because I'm like, I need to back up, because I think I might have missed something about why. It sounds like you said you had made up your mind to leave, and they had made up their mind that they didn't want you. It kind of happened around the same time, but I didn't understand the reason.
They didn't have no reason. They couldn't give me no reason.
Okay.
So they did make up a story. I supposedly got involved with some young girl there.
Oh.
And they were going to make that stick, and I said, well, I better get out of here.
Okay.
I know that ain't true.
Okay.
And somebody said they even had her come and testify.
Oh, goodness.
I don't, in the church. I don't know. They didn't let me know nothing about it.
Oh, I see.
I didn't hear nothing but rumors.
And there was no inquiry of you? You weren't given an opportunity to address it?
No.
Oh, wow.
No.
Oh, goodness.
They didn't want to hear nothing from me.
And you had decided to leave not because of that, but because it was just difficult pastoring that particular bunch of people?
That was included.
Okay.
When I heard that,
okay.
I said, I better get out of here.
Yeah.
And so, Lord knows, I never thought I would hear about it, but about a year after that, after I left there, that girl and her father was in an accident, and both of them were killed, auto accident.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Coming from I understand they were coming from Mexico. I'm not so sure.
Mm.
But I never talked to her anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I never talked to anybody else over there about anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just got out of there and kept going.
Okay. And so you actually established Greater New Vision yourself?
Yeah,
just
I
at
organized
a
it myself.
location that was something else before it was Greater New Vision.
No, it wasn't anything else.
Okay.
I just organized with 40 people at True Samaritan
Oh, okay. Okay.
and named my church Greater New Vision.
Okay. And you've been there how long now?
May of '82. That's when we
Wow.
organized on a Tuesday night after Mother's Day. No, not after Mother's Day. A couple of weeks after Mother's Day.
Wow, it's really been almost 40 years
Yeah.
now. My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we stayed over on Florence
Mm-hmm.
about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the man that was pastoring that little church and the white guy that supposedly bought the church
Mm-hmm.
were going back and forth. The black man that was a pastor, him and his wife separated. So she started fighting him over the church.
Oh, goodness.
And so the court never made a decision until after I got ready to leave.
Mm-hmm.
The decision was that I would just put the rent, to whatever rent I was paying, which was $500 a month,
Mm-hmm.
in the bank until the court settled the situation.
Okay.
And it was about, how many years? About 4 years we were putting our little $500 in the bank until the judge decided who to give it to.
Did you say 4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness
We
gracious.
stayed there 5 years.
And all this while it was in court.
Yeah. Mhm.
Gosh.
And when they settled it, the black preachers, and they ain't got no money, they just lying. And we came up with a little over $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
And he was about as happy as he could be. So I don't know who they divided it with. Either between the white guy, the preacher, and his ex-wife. I tell you. But it was something else. I was so glad to get out of that situation.
Yes. And now what has been your overall experience with the membership of Greater New Vision?
Wonderful people. Most of them.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some hellions in there.
Yeah.
And I still have. Well, they ain't been there since the pandemic, coronavirus thing started. And I just assume they don't come.
Yeah.
But they were, there were only 40 people present when we organized.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the deacons, he was the chairman who followed me from over at McKinley. He said, Pastor, there's only 40 of us here, so you ain't used to this we can't take care of you financially like this. I said, well, tell you what, all you have to do is just give me a day, a Sunday. Pastor Iverson was famous for that first Sunday a month.
Mm-hmm.
And he was writing it in, all the members he had.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I don't want the first Sunday because that's going to be our heaviest month. And I had mostly older people who was on salary, who were getting checked and stuff. I said, just give me a Sunday a month. Make it the third Sunday. We ain't got nothing special going on the third Sunday. So they voted that in. And my chairman said, now, Reverend, you're going to have to live every week. You just can't get by on the third Sunday because we ain't got enough people.
Mm-hmm.
He said, let us give you a love offering on Sunday, every Sunday. Whatever we want to give. I said, fine with me. So they got me 2 little boxes. Every Sunday, somebody would put something in there. It didn't rise to be very much, but it kept me going.
Mm-hmm.
And above all, the Lord kept me headed in a way I should go.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up with 3 houses for rent plus this one. And I was still just getting whatever they would give me on the third Sunday. I'm still doing that right now. And if I got, see this envelope you gave me?
Yeah.
That's a love offering
That's
envelope.
a love offering. Okay.
That's what they've been using for my every Sunday envelope.
Yeah.
And on Sunday,
I get it.
it's all right. And then on the third Sunday, we have some tithing envelopes that they normally they put out. But I've been surviving.
Yeah.
I've been holding on, and I ain't got no real complaints.
Yeah.
I'm thinking now I'm getting ready to retire, and I want Reginald has already given me some tips. But I'm with American Baptist Credit Union, and I have a retirement check coming from them. I have a small one coming from the insurance company that I was under, and I ain't doing too bad. Everything is paid for that needs paying for. I can afford to pay for it right now.
Wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
I ain't got no complaints.
Good.
No.
And do you still own property back home, Ringgold?
Just my house back home.
You have a home back home.
Yeah, now I do pay taxes on some other land the whole Pope family owned. Because when my dad passed away, he was paying the taxes on this. It's 68 acres of land left. It was 80 acres. But some of the other family got in and got a piece of it here, a piece of it there. So it's still 68 acres.
Is that in Louisiana or Texas?
At Ringgold.
In Ringgold.
Louisiana, yeah.
Okay.
And I've been paying the little taxes on it. It hadn't been that much because it's the only land since then. But I have my little piece of property there on the side of the highway right across from the old high school. I put it there for Mom and Dad, and they enjoyed some of it. I was so gracious to the Lord for allowing me to put it there. I told them I bought the land from two of my principal, high school principal there, and my 8th grade teacher. They bought 2 plots of land. It was totaled out to be a little over ½ an acre, because an old white man was going to put a juke joint there. And they didn't want no juke joint across the street from the school. So they bought the land, and I went to them. And they sold me their part each for $1,500. And no, $1,500 for the whole section.
Okay.
And I bought it, gave them cash for it. And so I told Mom and Dad I wanted to put a home there for them. I did. And before I got it there, though, Dad would take his truck and drive around to that spot and just sit there and look at it. I said, you all look for a house that I can move to put there. There was a girl in Alexandria that I knew. I told her what I had planned to do. She says, well, I know some places, some homes. My sister lives up in Bossier City, Shreveport area. And I know they got a lot of empty houses up there because there's a grocery store, supermarket, buying up a lot of land. They bought the land already, but some of the people wanted to sell their own home. So they got Mom and Dad and took them over there. And right away they found a home.
Really?
A place, 3-bedroom, brick, 2 full baths, central heating and air.
Oh my.
All of that.
Yeah.
Stove, refrigerator, everything. No, actually, yeah, they left the stove. They took the refrigerator. The folks that sold it. So it wasn't long before I had her. Once I got the house, she was asking $15,000 for the house. The old lady did. I called her from here I said, well, ma'am, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I only got $8,000. She says, I'll take it. And that's what I paid her for the house.
Oh my goodness. What year was that?
About 85, 84, somewhere like that. But I had to find somebody to move it.
Yeah.
And I had seen a trucking company moving homes back there before. And the guy that I had been running the revival for found out who they were. We were still fishing buddies. And we contacted them, and they said, yeah, but it cost me more to move the house there than it did to buy the house. They charged me $16,000
Oh my goodness.
to move, but they had to unbrick it, tear all the bricks off, and
Really?
move it down and re-brick the area, re-brick the house.
Oh.
If I had been thinking enough, I'd have had them put me a fireplace in there. But they fixed it back up as it is. I don't know if you've seen it. I have you.
No, I haven't.
You haven't?
I have. I
You
have.
have.
Yes.
It's. I thought it was a nice house.
Yeah.
It is.
Carpeted throughout except the kitchen, and got a little. Mama had that thing fixed up, so she still got a cabinet in there with all kind of toys, little plastic figurines and stuff in there, and an open one bigger than this. She's got one of those things in there, king size bed in the master bedroom, and a regular size bed up front. And of course, at their age, they weren't sleeping together, so Daddy got him a little single bed, put it in the back bedroom. That's where he had all of his guns and things. But everything was very nice.
Was he a hunter?
No, he died at 87. You said, was he a hunter?
A hunter.
Oh, no, he until he got to so much age, he had plenty of wood, plenty of hunting ground over there in that pasture where I'm paying the taxes on. There's ain't nothing but wood over there. But when he got a certain age, he put it down.
Okay. So the guns are just a personal collection. They're
Yeah,
not
they
hunting.
were. They're gone now because I brought them back here. And after they got through breaking in here, they took all my guns.
Oh boy.
His one shotgun they left back there. And I always figured that somebody who broke in and took them knew weapons. Because they left that one that wasn't working laying on the bed. And so I would always keep my pistol with me. Because they stole, I had three pistols given to me. One was a great big long 45. One was a snub-nosed Derringer. And Daddy found what you call a M1. It's a military weapon, military rifle, on the beach in Galveston before he died. But he left that there, and I brought it out here with me. They took it too. Yeah. So now, none of us really were great hunters. Dad would also go fishing every now and then, but I became an avid fisherman. I loved to fish when I would go down there every summer for the revival. Because I had somebody with me. So I even bought 2 boats while I was down there. They're both sitting under the shed right now. One of them doesn't have an engine. And both of them, tires are flat and rotted. So I'm trying to sell the place now. I was getting a little check from the oil company, but it never amounted to $8 or $10 every quarter, but sometimes $25 every quarter. Now that was down there. I had taken a chance in 77. I was out at the VA, and while I was waiting there for the doctor, I saw a little newspaper sitting on the stand. I began to read it, and I saw in there where the U.S. government was raffling off the oil and gas rights to land here in America.
Mhm.
Well, it caught my attention. I just started reading it. Thing is, you would send in $10 to the Bureau of Land Management at the end for 1 month raffle. That your name would go in the barrel, and if they pull that name, you would be able to own the oil and gas rights to that property, whatever size it was, but it was costing you 50 cents an acre.
Mhm.
And I had been fooling around with it. I found a man in Arizona who was into that, and he called me and says, now I can pick out the best parcels for you if you want me to. Send them to you every month. Some of this stuff ain't nothing but grass and wood, but I know where the best parcels are, where oil is.
Mhm.
So he started sending me a monthly letter, sheet with oil parcels on there that I should apply for.
Mhm.
So I had been dealing with him 3 or 4 months. It cost me about $10 or $20 a month. And one day I'm sitting around here and I got his mail. For the first time there was a parcel of land from Billings County, North Dakota. I had never gotten one from there before. I said, hey, I'll try this one. I got my little $10, filled out the application, mailed it in. Sitting at that table back there, reading or writing or doing something. One day, phone rang. Mr. Pope? I said, yes. This is the Bureau of Land Management in Billings County, North Dakota. I said, oh, you sure you have the right number? He says, yeah, congratulations, you won that 2,300 acres
Mm.
parcel of land.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I said, what? I own the oil rights, 2,300 acres, but it would cost me 50 cents an acre.
Yeah.
I didn't have the money then.
Oh.
So I was dating a girl. She used to live about 5 blocks from here. So I called her and told her the good news. I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have 50 cents an acre, that's what it would cost me, so we divide that in half.
Mhm.
I didn't have the money.
Mhm.
She said, what you going to do? I said, I don't know. She says, well, I tell you what. She said, if I loan you the money, now here I ain't playing, if I loan you the money, would you pay me back? I said, of course I'd pay you back. I said, but it'll take me a little time.
Mhm.
And she brought me a check for whatever, 1,500,
Mhm.
somewhere like that. No, it had gone up when I won, from 50 cents an acre to $1 an acre.
Mhm.
So she brought me a check for $2,300.
Mhm.
And before I could put it in the bank, I get a call from a man in Arizona. I said, well, he said, yeah, you won, huh? I said, yeah, I did. I said, now I got to go and send them off the money. He says, what are you sending? I said, $2,300. He said, well, I'll tell you what. And I told him I had to borrow it.
Mhm.
He says, well, I tell you what, you give that $2,300 back. I'll send it in. And I don't know how he arranged this thing, but whatever I get from people who bought the rights to the property,
Mhm.
I just give him his money back. And it wasn't long, because 2, 3 people called me about the land.
Mhm.
It wasn't long before somebody called and made an offer to buy all of my oil rights to that property.
Mhm.
And I said, well, how much am I going to get? This one guy, the oldest guy, offered me $35,000.
Mhm.
So I sold it to him. That cut through a lot of stuff because the guy up in Arizona wanted to buy it. I said, now you're too late. Sold it. And anyway, this guy, they bought, the oil company sent me a check for $35,000. They would own the oil and gas rights to the property for the next 10 years. If they found nothing on it, it would go back to the government. I said, fine with me. I got $35,000. That's how I got that car in the garage out there.
Okay.
What car is that?
The Rose.
You know, you have answered so many questions that I had without even knowing I was going to ask you this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're an excellent orator and storyteller.
I say.
It's so thorough. I mean, do you have any formal training in speaking or oratory skills, or this just comes naturally?
Well, I went to acting school.
Okay, there's something about you that I'm like, this is either very natural or you've been trained.
Well, when you're a preacher,
yeah,
and you go into school for it, you get a lot of training there too.
Okay.
A lot of training.
Yeah. So that's how the Rolls Royce came about.
Yeah,
I was going to ask about the story of the Rolls Royce because I think you may be one of two people in the family that I know who've ever owned one.
Oh yeah.
And you've owned yours for how long now?
Since '77.
Yeah, I believe Stafford had one at some point.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. So you were the two.
Yeah.
Since
I
'77.
bought mine on October 3rd, 1977.
Okay.
I remember because that's my daughter's birthday.
Okay.
And I came home in that car. I said, look what I got you for your birthday. Got so big. I said, I'm just kidding. I'm just prepared. Don't do me like that. But it's been sitting out there for a while now. I got to get some work done on it. The transmission needs overhauling because the transmission and the brakes are all hooked up together. So I found a man who says he could do it, but the transmission itself would cost $4,000. And I want to do it so I can go ahead and sell it. I've had it so long.
Yeah.
Stafford bought one that was fairly new,
Okay.
but mine was an old '57 Star Chief.
Oh boy. Was that a dream car of yours or had you dreamed of purchasing that before you came into this money?
Oh yeah, I was thinking. And the same girl who let me have the check for $2,300 called me one day. She said, "You still want a Rolls Royce?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "But I don't know how you're going to afford one." And I was a little better shape then. I had gotten that $30,000 or $35,000. I said, "Well," she says, "I'm over here at a service station and he's got a sign over on London right now for sale." She says, "It's an old one." I said, "How old?" She said, "I don't know." So I jumped in my car, it was right here. Ran over on the freeway near the freeway on Vermont Avenue, I believe it was. He was at a service station there waiting for me. And there was another black guy who was in a new later model Cadillac, claimed he was interested. And I was interested. We rode around in it and I drove it about. And this other guy says, "Well, I want it. I'll buy it, but I'm going to need to sell this one first." I said, I don't need to sell nothing. So I talked him into letting me have it. He wanted 16.9. I said, "I'll give you 16 cash for it right now." He took it. He was selling it for a lady he said lived in Los Gatos. But I bought it, took him the check, he turned the title over to me, signed it over to me, and I drove home. And boy, the cops followed me. I stopped at a store down here on Compton Boulevard. And as soon as I stopped, they came over to me. "Will you step out of the car, please?" And I stepped out. No, he didn't. He asked me, "Where'd you get this car?" I said, "I just bought it from a guy, and it's from a lady from Los Gatos. I got the title and everything. Can we see it, please?" I went to reach my hand in the glove compartment. He was down there just looking. So I pulled the title out. Everything was in order. So okay, he let me go on home. But every now and then they'd pull me over just for curiosity. Your smoke is coming out of your tailpipe. And I started my car up when he stopped me on that fault. I started the car up and got out and went back there. Ain't no smoke whatsoever. Another time, I didn't have no tail light. I started my car up, turned the lights on, went back, looked, there was some lights. But they would do that, so they got used to me.
Yeah, wow.
So it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. Just had to do a lot of repair on it over the years. Because that's a 77. Oh, it's a 57.
57.
Yeah, bought it in 77, but it's a 57. And I've had a couple of accidents. People running into me. And that's about the size. Nobody got injured or nothing like that. But one guy hit me from behind, and it only cost $200 to get it fixed. And he paid that off. I hit somebody, a big truck that was passing me, dented my right fender, my left fender. And of course I took care of that. I didn't have to, they didn't take me to court or nothing like that. Nobody got hurt. But it's been fun. I enjoyed it.
Good. Overall, it was a good purchase for you.
It was. I really wanted to keep it. But I'm too old to be trying to drive all that stuff. I tell you, it's an eye catcher though.
Yes.
It really is.
Now, you previously mentioned being in the entertainment with your superb voice, and I have to say I attest to that. You are, whether you're in the business, in church, or you are one of the most superb vocalists I have ever heard. And I tell you, when I try to stay away from using the word favorite, but you're favorite. You're hands down.
That's a blessing.
Hands down. So I wonder, did you ever try to hire an agent or break into the entertainment industry as we know it?
I was with a group when we had an agent. Ella Woods. She used to go to Paradise. I think she's still in Vegas entertaining. But I never tried to get one on my own.
Okay.
I wasn't ambitious enough. And then the preaching thing was bothering me. So I didn't follow through on the agent thing for me. I did perform some television performances. Joey Bishop's show was one of them. And I can't think of all of them, but.
And that was with the group, or just you?
I sang by myself, and with the group, really. But we sang, there was a nightclub in Hollywood called the Classic Cat on Sunset Street. Don't know if it's still there or not, but I discovered it while I was going to acting school. And the group and I sang there for many, many months. It was a topless joint, believe it or not. And
what was the name of it? What kind of cat?
Classic.
The Classic Cat.
Classic Cat. Yeah, it was on the south side of Sunset Boulevard. I don't remember the exact address. But we had a ball there. We sang during the day rather than nighttime. So Ella, Willie, the other fella, my name and me and Ella, Willie. Now Willie could sing. That boy could sing. And in fact, last I heard, he was with the that black group used to be so popular. They sang can't even think of the song they put out that was so popular. But he showed up at my church about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he was living up in San Bernardino, and they were performing in Vegas, and he was off at that time. So during my church anniversary, he came down to sing a solo for me. And he wouldn't come unless I paid him. As long as we sang together, I got to pay you to come down and sing one song. But I gave him $125. I forget the name of the group, doggone it. But you know them if you heard the name.
Okay. Did you know our cousin Willie Pope, who lived out here? Who was let's see, he would have been, was he Coleman Pope's son? Yes, Coleman Pope's son.
Whose son?
Coleman Pope. Did you know our Uncle Coleman Pope?
Yeah.
He had a son named Willie who owned a
Did
couple of nightclubs out here.
Yeah,
Did you know him, and did you ever sing it?
No, I never was out there.
Okay.
No, I didn't know him that well.
Okay.
I was mostly with the group out in the white area and all that junk. Didn't do me a whole lot of good, but I was out there. But I enjoyed what I was doing. I kept toying with preaching until I finally was convinced. The Lord showed me that that's what I was supposed to do.
Okay.
And I put the group down. They split up and went their own ways. Like I said, Ella and Willie were still entertaining last I heard. What's the name of this group? Talked about it. They split it up, and then the two main leaders went their own separate. Went away together.
Went away together?
Yeah, they left the group themselves and started their own do-it thing.
Okay, so I don't think it's the Temptations, because they...
No, it wasn't. It was 2 women and 3 guys, I think.
And 2 of the guys left and started their own group.
No.
No.
One of the women and one guy.
Women and one.
I think they got married.
Oh, the Fifth Dimension?
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis.
There you go.
Ah,
That's
okay.
it. Yeah, they left, and somehow Willie got involved, and he could hold his own. So, but last I saw him, he was with the Fifth Dimensions at the time. So that's been 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know what happened since then.
Yeah. Now your acting lessons. Were you ever involved in any plays or anything like that?
Oh, lots of plays in acting school.
Okay.
There was a building not too far from the Classic Cat where I entertained. I went to acting school there during the day when I wasn't entertaining, but I went under the Veterans Bill of Rights. They paid for my schooling, or part of it. And I was in lots of plays, but the biggest one I was in was held at the City Auditorium over in Santa Monica. I played a colonel in the Army. And let me see, what was the name of that? It was about a foreign soldier in our U.S. Army that got injured, and they sent him to my hospital. Doggone it. At my age, it's been a long time. But I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, the name of the movie now, the name of the play. Anyway, this soldier came into my ward and ended up falling in love with the nurse there. And I had a time keeping them apart. But he finally, I don't know if they got married or not. But they were really kind of behind. She got to like him herself quite a bit. But that was one of the most popular plays that I was in. And I hadn't thought of it in so long. But I had, but it was an interesting play, comedy and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was what attracted you to Los Angeles?
No.
Was it no? It wasn't the
It
acting
was.
or the singing aspiration.
No, I was acting and singing in Ringgold.
Mm-hmm.
We had several plays that traveled throughout the state
Mm-hmm.
where we won first place, and I usually had the leading role.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy from Heflin called John Hill, little short, dark guy. He was good, so he was my leading man, or I was his leading man.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a girl, real short hair. Her name was Ivy Jewel Loud, I believe. Lived in either Heflin or Roytown or Mendon. I'm not Mendon, but
She recently passed away, and I recently learned
really?
she's our cousin.
really?
Yeah.
Ivy Jewel?
She sure was.
Well, I'll be
She's our
doggone.
cousin.
She was some actress,
Oh,
I
yeah?
tell you. Yeah. She was always our leading lady. when I was a
Really?
kid. Yeah. She was. There was a couple of other girls that worked out with us. I think when Ivy Jewel graduated from high school or something like that. But they were nowhere near her.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all.
Say a couple of you and she were just naturals. Huh?
Yeah, hey, we were, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
We were. And John Hill was an actor, a little short rascal. I went out, we went to Pine Bluff, Arkansas for a tournament, acting tournament. Our play, won first place.
Mm-hmm.
And the man bragged on me, the judge bragged on me so much till I got the big heads, and I decided the next play that I'm in, I'm going to win the Best Actor Award.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, John Hill walked all over me on that play. Boy, he got a trophy, and he didn't even have the leading role.
He was good.
He was
He
good.
was just that good.
He decided he's going to get the Best Actor Award. He got it. He did. But I enjoyed all of it.
Uh-huh.
My schooling, my upbringing, everything else.
Now, as a young adult,
Mm-hmm.
Independent on your own, in the military, working on your own, outside of the Lord calling you to serve Him in the capacity of a minister, would you characterize yourself as an extrovert, an introvert, a ladies' man? What would you say your young adult life was like?
Some of the other guys may have characterized me as a ladies' man. I was very popular even in the military because I was doing what you call special services. That was entertaining.
Okay.
And my first loss, as I can remember, with a group, was with 3 guys that I was singing with in the military. And that was a song that I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And we had practiced on this old song, "You're Mine, My Baby, and You'll Always Be. I Love You So." We were really harmonizing on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I taught them a song that I wrote. I said, "We don't want that. We don't want that. You're mine. We want your song." And we got on stage and hit those notes so high, we were too loud. We didn't know how to get away from the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
But we lost there. We came in second, but everything else, as far as an introvert was concerned, no, I always mind my own business. Because if you weren't careful, you dealing with guys from all across the nation, and some of them were stone hoodlums. And so you had to find out who they were right away so you could stay out of their way.
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, I did not get in any fights in the Army or nothing. I came close one time.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the guys grabbed this guy. He probably would have turned me to ashes myself. But he was just one of those guys who wanted to fight anybody, anytime. And I was stationed at El Paso at the William Beaumont Hospital. And right across down the road was the Mexican border. You could cross over there and go on into Juarez, Mexico. And this boy wanted to go to Juarez. And he wanted me to let him use my car. I said, oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
I had I bought it from Galveston, 52 Mercury. And it was a nice looking car, it runs good. But I let a white boy borrow it one night. He was supposed to be back at noon. I couldn't catch up with him until almost noon the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was out looking for him with somebody else driving another car. And I saw my car going down the highway. I said, that's my car down the street. We caught up with him. I made them both. He was with his girl. I made them both get out right there on the street. And they were quite a ways from our camp, too.
Mm-hmm.
So you ain't driving no further. I was going to bring you later. No, I said, you supposed to be back at midnight last night. Mm-hmm. Here it is almost midnight today. Mm-hmm. So I put him out. Drove my car on home and wouldn't let nobody else have it at all. Unless I was driving. Yeah. But as I say, at the time of my discharge, I just couldn't wait. And I was just blessed that I had changed automobiles at that time. I was driving that 56 Pontiac. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize it, but I should have changed tires because those are old tires that were on there, and they were cracked and all that. But the Lord kept me. I didn't have no problem getting home. El Paso was about 1,600 miles from Galveston. I just took my time and drove on in. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I ain't been bothered since.
Did you serve out of the country at all?
No. Stayed. As a matter of fact, I didn't go out of Texas.
Oh.
Until I got ready to entertain.
Okay.
We went to some parts of Oklahoma. I forget the name of that place. And we entertained there. That's where I lost my first quartet thing. Mm-hmm. Is in Oklahoma. But no, I was having lived in Galveston. They sent me to Fort Hood, Texas, for my basic training. And that's shooting a rifle, running out in the woods and all that at night, and not knowing how to get back. After that 8 weeks training, they were going to ship me to San Francisco. So I told my commanding officer, I said, well, what am I going to do with my car? Am I going to drive all the way up? He said, you got a car? I said, yes, sir. And I showed it to him. Okay, well, we have to change things. Then they sent me to El Paso, and I drove all the way to El Paso from Fort Hood, Texas. Mm-hmm. No, they sent me to San Antonio from Fort Hood, and that's where I got my medical and psychiatric training. Mm-hmm. I was there for 3 months, and that's when they changed their minds. Instead of going to San Francisco, they sent me to El Paso. And I went to the El Paso, not El Paso, but William Beaumont General Hospital. That was the Army name of the hospital. Stayed there. Now right down the hill on the same ground was what was called 106 General Hospital, Field Hospital. In Beaumont Hospital, I had buildings, place to sleep, barracks, and all that. But I had the same thing down the hill. But that hospital was known for going out, staying out in the wilderness for weeks at a time. Mm-hmm. So I went down there for a couple of months, and there was a female officer that was over me in my barracks, a major, Murray was her name, and she didn't like black folks at all.
Mm.
Believe me now, this was in 62, I believe. But I don't know what she was mad about, but anytime you run into an office, a male or female, you had to salute.
Mm-hmm.
If you were junior, non-commissioned officer. I don't know what happened. I might have, my 3 buddies that came to this place with me were also down at the field hospital, and it came time for us to be promoted from a buck private to a private first class.
Mm-hmm.
But she played, my other 3 buddies were white, so she promoted them and wouldn't promote me. And so I went to I went over her heads, in other words, and found out why I wasn't promoted. I said I qualified for everything just like my buddies did. And she promoted them to, I had 1 stripe on my arm. I mean, they had 1 stripe.
Mm-hmm.
So he went to the general of the commanding officer of the post. He got me my stripe.
Good.
And Major didn't like that at all. She got upset. She put me on orders real quick, and across the main highway was a hospital. It was another army camp. It wasn't even a military hospital. It wasn't even a medical hospital. It wasn't a hospital at all. It was just a military camp. She's gonna send me over there because she's mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went over her head. So there was what you call a warrant officer on my post that looked after trouble, things like that may cause trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I went to him. He went to her and had my orders canceled. I'm standing right where I am with my buddies.
Mm-hmm.
She was mad. She would even salute me when I saluted her.
Really? Oh boy.
She was really mad.
Mm-hmm.
But I stayed there, and eventually I was transferred back up the hill to my regular hospital where I belong. And they put me on a psychiatric ward as an attendant. That's where I stayed until I resigned and left the military.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was just right up the hill. I was there taking care of the mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
They had a baby ward on there, and I took care of a lot of babies. They put me on the female ward. I was uncomfortable there because those women over there when they stay over there a long time, they get rough on you. Especially if they thought you were pretty handsome.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to watch myself over there. I did.
Now going back to your singing, you mentioned a couple of songs that you wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Are you up to singing us a few verses of
Oh,
them?
Lord. Let's see. One of them was called I Wish I Didn't Love You, and another one was called Don't Make Me Fall in Love. Those are 2 of my popular songs. And I had one called Don't Go. That was one of those rock and roll songs.
Did you want us to wait until after so he don't compete with the ice cream truck?
I don't want the ice cream truck.
Okay,
Okay.
let's hold the songs off until it seems like he's just sitting right here.
Yeah, he might be too.
Then I do have another question about, do you have any major illnesses, traumas, or disappointments over the course of your life that are noteworthy that you'd like to know?
No, I had what the doctors termed as cancer of the vocal cords.
Mm.
It was during the time my son was graduating shortly afterwards from UC Berkeley.
Mm.
We went up there to bring him, pick all of his stuff up and bring him home after he had graduated. We were there for the graduation, Alice and I.
Mm.
And all of a sudden I got where I couldn't talk barely, get so hoarse. And I went to the doctor, and he looked at my vocal cords. He says, it looks like you your cancer, you might have cancer. I said, oh my Lord. And I was really talking rougher than I'm talking now. And so they scheduled an appointment, went down in my throat, and what he called scrubbed my vocal cords. And for the next 6 weeks, all I could do was talk like this, just whisper. It just wasn't done coming out. And finally, my voice started getting better. And where did I made that CD I got over there. After I got recovered from that scrape, he said they got all that they could without doing surgery. But for 6 weeks, all I could do was whisper. And after I got over that, I was into, what happened was during the regular services at the church, started back to preaching. I couldn't preach for a while. I would normally sing a solo after a message or something. Or the choir and I would get busy singing. So that's what we did after I started back to speaking. And I got about 11 songs. I had someone to record them. Got a recording and taped all of them. And I ran out of songs. And I played a couple of them on the radio, and a couple of the albums. There's only one album with the same songs on it. But I played it a couple of times on radio and over the internet, one on the internet. So I hadn't had any problems recently until recently, when I began to get weak with this not being able to eat. A few nights ago, last week, all of my throat got just as sore as could be to the touch. I just touched it, it was aching. Don't know what it was, but it's gone.
Okay.
And thank God it's gone, but I'm going to be telling my doctor about it so that they every now and then, for the next 6 months, after I got my vocal cord scraped and my voice came back, they would check me, go to my nasal passage and run the little cord down through my throat and say E, you have to say E. That was no problem whatsoever. And the last time that was done, it was about 3 months ago. But I'm going to let them know about this soreness. It came and it went away. Of course, I can't hit the high notes that I used to hit. I wish I could. Are you ready for me?
Oh, yeah.
I wish I didn't love you. It goes, I wish I knew why I'm lonely. I wish I knew why I'm so blue. I wish my heart would stop this yearning. Oh, I wish I didn't love you. That's about as far as I can go on that one.
On that one,
That's
okay.
just one verse.
All right.
Yes, other verses simply say, I can sit around every night gazing through my empty room. The pain is so deep into my heart because I can't stop loving you. That's the second verse.
Okay.
Anyway,
How's the chorus?
it says, I try to hide the pain inside. I try to hide the pain inside by telling folks a lie like I don't care. But every time I hear your name, I feel, oh, such a pain. I realize that my love is all in vain. Yet I'll go on just the same, try to find someone new. I'll never love nobody else. I wish I didn't love you. And then the end is, I wish I didn't love you. That's that song.
Oh, that's beautiful. That sounds like Smokey Robinson. That's one of my favorite songwriters.
And when he played it good too.
And it was just accompanied by the piano?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you say you have a tape of it?
I had, it broke. That's what it is.
Okay.
It's probably over there on the corner there, but the tape broke, and the recorder that it played on was behind you, that big.
A reel?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have been trying to figure out a way to get it taped back together, but I forgot how to use that reel to tell the truth. Yeah.
All right. What else you got?
Well, anyway. You can tell my voice ain't what it used to be, I tell you.
That's all right.
It is a mess now. I have been wanting to sing a song that Loretta the musician taught me from some of her musician friends. It's called Jesus Led Me All the Way, and I really like that song. And now, if I could remember the words to, and I saw the words to that song not long ago. Again, Charlotte got me all confused about what's going on around here. Jesus cares when I'm lonely. Yes, he cares when I'm feeling blue. Jesus cares about my situation. Oh, he cares for me. When I'm down to my last dime, he will step in right on time. Yes, I know he cares. He cares for me. And I don't even know if I can get up high to get the verses. Oh, yes, I know he cares. He cares for me. Yes, he does. I know he cares. Jesus cares. For me. Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'm up. Sometimes I'm down. Sometimes I'm almost level with the ground. But I know
he cares.
Jesus cares.
I know he cares.
I
know he cares.
Jesus cares.
I know he cares.
When I'm lonely,
I know he cares.
Jesus cares.
I know he cares.
I
know he cares.
Jesus cares.
I know he cares.
He cares for me.
I know
he cares for me. Oh, Lord.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
I wish I could sing now.
You can. Trust me.
That's all right. That's all right.
You can.
That's all right.
Firecrackers, I guess that's what they are.
All day, every day, any day.
Yeah. You locked the screen back when, the iron gate back.
Yes, it is.
All right, well, can't be. That's what snatched me off. That steps, my first fall. I was standing with the gate open, I had my hand around the latch,
Mm-hmm.
and that wind came through there so much I didn't have time to turn it loose.
Mm.
It touched me right off on my head.
Oh my goodness.
I brushed my lip there, I had to have 5 stitches
Mm.
put in there.
Gosh.
So I'm always leery of how light I should hold it when I open the door.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't intend to let it get me again. But on yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
I was going to step down the steps. See, I got a railing on this side where I balance on the steps, step down, no problem. This side, I got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I went on down on this side to try to turn my water off on the lawn. Fell again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
But fortunately, the Mexican family across the street, they're always watching.
Mm-hmm.
And those 2 times that I fell off the steps out there, they ran over and got me.
Okay.
Wanted to call the doctor, right? No, call no doctor, just sit me and stand me up. But I've fallen so many times.
Boy.
Just
And haven't
'cause-
broken anything, huh?
Yeah, I broke my side once.
Oh,
Broke my
goodness.
rib.
Oh boy.
Really?
But this was about 4 or 5 months ago.
Mm.
And I went to the hospital. All they did was just give me some medication to rub myself with.
Mm.
They said it wasn't enough to bandage up.
Mm.
But they said it was broken, not bruised, broken.
Okay.
But I had a minute's trouble out of it.
Okay, good.
Okay.
That's my, anybody calling, I know what they left a message maybe.
We'll give your singing voice a rest.
Yeah.
But before we wrap it up, if you feel like giving us a little bit of the other song you wrote, let us know.
Oh,
All right.
oh Lordy.
You don't have to do it now if you want to rest. But
I ain't gonna do no better with my voice anyway, so. It's called Don't Make Me Fall in Love. That's one of them. Make me warm the longest mile. Make me kneel to the Lord above. Make me climb the highest mountain. Oh, but please don't make me fall in love. That's one verse I remember. That's back in the 60s when I wrote these things. I better stop there.
oh boy,
Don't
just
get to
great.
tickling
That's
you.
great. It's just great.
The
Thank you.
verse says, loving you would be loving you would be a sin because wanting you hurts so much. I'd rather die from a heart condition than to kiss your lips and fall in love. That was the second verse. I was a mess back then.
That's beautiful. You're talented. Oh boy, very talented. Creative.
I tell you,
You're an artist.
I just didn't do anything with them, that was all. That old musician could play that one too, I tell you. He really could. One day I'm going to put that tape back together.
Yeah.
And either find somebody with a,
Is that song on there too?
yeah,
Oh boy.
I think. I don't know.
Okay.
I do know the first one is on there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look into that. I have a friend that has some reels, reel to reels. So,
Okay.
you know.
All right.
So,
That would be
I'll
great
see
if we
if you
could
got it.
restore those. Yeah.
If I could put it back together and play that.
Yeah. We talked about major illnesses, traumas, whatever. On the flip side, you have any major accomplishments or anything you're particularly proud of that you'd like to mention?
Well, most of it has to do with my religious activities. I am so proud of the fact that I gave in to the Lord and accepted the call to the ministry. I'm very proud of the few religious songs I recorded. I got them around here somewhere. One of them is, I can't remember the name of it now. But no, just those souls that I influenced to come to Christ, and those that I baptized, particularly 2 of my grandkids.
Amen.
And I'm waiting on the second 2, Chris's children. I have, the churches I've pastored, I'm glad I was able to hold my head up when I left them both, the first 2. That's about the size of it. I'm just glad I'm in the business I'm in. Because if I had gotten there in the world, you know, tell me what I'd have done. You know, telling.
Do you have any regrets?
Not really. I would say that my wife and I didn't stay together. And that's 2 of them. But as you can see, I have just as much fun with my kids as I would have if they were living, if I was living with them. Charlotte's my oldest child. And of course, the others that are not moved away, I have good contact with them. That is Chris, except Jonathan. I don't know where he is. I don't even know how we get along if I did know where we are. But that's about the only regret that I have. I didn't get a chance to bring up all my kids the way I wanted to, and yet most of them turned out to be all right. I'm proud of them. So.
Now you mentioned 2 wives. One I know was Alice, who you mentioned before, Chris's mom. You were married to Charlotte's mom as well?
No, Chris's mom, and Chris, his mom is one of the last wife. Charlotte's mom is the first wife.
And what's her name?
Dorothy. She's up there somewhere.
Okay.
She lives in Houston now.
Okay.
But I was married before I was out of high school.
Oh, wow. To her?
To Dorothy,
Okay.
Charlotte's mother.
Charlotte's mother. Okay.
Yeah, she had graduated from a little town in Arkansas, and she came down because her mom lived in Galveston. And I met her through, her mom had a sister who had a boyfriend that I sang with in a quartet. And he wanted, "Man, I got somebody I want you to meet." And that's how it all started. Yeah, she was a good-looking little devil, too. Yeah.
What was her maiden name, dear?
Dorothy Perry.
Dorothy Perry. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll add her to my family tree that I'm creating. Okay.
Dorothy Perry. You can get to see her picture.
Okay.
I had it the other day.
It's up there somewhere?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay. Is there anything you would have liked to have done in your lifetime that you have not?
Not really. I think my life has been fulfilled pretty good. Of course, I needed a little more money, but don't we all? That's about the size of it. I don't really regret having done things that made me so ashamed that I couldn't look my folks in the face. And I can't remember anything that I have not done that I regret so much.
Okay.
Now, if I had to live it over again, I think more education would have been on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't graduate from seminary, but I went 3 years over at, it's located in Fullerton now. The Christian College.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about the only thing I wish I could have done, was graduate from that school.
Okay. You mentioned Uncle Howard and Uncle Hugh before, briefly. Are there any other elders or ancestors that you grew up with?
Oh, they're all gone.
Yeah.
Uncle Howard, I don't remember his wife too well. Uncle Hugh, I remember her because he pastored quite a while in Houston, and his wife was the musician there, Rosie, Roseanne or something like that. She and Uncle Hugh and Stafford were buddies. Annie Rose, that's what we call Annie Rose. Now, Stafford's mother, I grew up with her. He and I grew up together, just like John and I and the rest of Reginald's family grew up together.
Okay. So that's Aunt Ferry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aunt Ferry. And those two of those guys in that picture on the end there, their mother was Aunt Angie. That was my dad. Those two were my dad's sisters.
Okay.
And of course, they've been going a long time. Uncle Skeet, you would have, I don't know, you never met him, I guess.
Oh yes, I
You remember Uncle Skeet?
as a young one, and we all remember his jokes.
That's what I was about to say. You would have enjoyed being around him.
Yes, indeed.
There's a picture up there somewhere of him and Uncle Major standing together.
Now that's one I probably met, but don't remember, Uncle Major.
He was always fat, always real fat.
And jolly, huh?
Yeah, he was. He was. He was. I remember he came home from the army on a furlough. We were out in the yard. We had a very big front yard, and he was trying to ride the bike out there. And it was the hardest thing for him to do, ride that bike. I'm telling you. And I was just a little boy at the time.
What about Aunt T or Aunt Mary Jane?
Okay, yeah. Now, Aunt Mary Jane never had any children, but she was married to Uncle Bill. They lived up in Sibley. They would come down to Ringgold every now and then to see Grandma and Grandpa and all that. But he was, Aunt Mary Jane, I don't know where she was among the siblings. But Aunt T, did you ever meet her?
No.
Okay. Her daughters, one of the daughters now live in Mendon, Ida Mae. And I understand Ida Nell just passed away a few weeks ago. But her oldest son, Grady B., he was working for Ringgold City on some live lines, and he was accidentally executed. He was quite a jokester himself, strong as an ox. The second boy, you might have met him. He was the police chief of Ringgold.
Oh, Lawson.
Yeah,
Lawson Bradley.
yeah. Lawson. That's the second son. And she had two girls, Ida Mae and Ida. Let's see.
Ida Mae and Ida Nell.
Yeah, Ida Nell. Ida Nell is the one that just passed, I understand. And then she had another son, Charlie. And that was it.
He passed away recently too, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he did.
So Grady B was Aunt T's son.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And his brother Charlie.
And his brother Charlie. Okay.
Yeah. So as far as I know, there's only one sibling left at this point. But they had quite a family. I think the husband passed away a few years ago too.
Whose husband?
Auntie's husband.
Oh.
But I believe I think he got married again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure about that. I moved away and didn't keep in touch like we should have.
Okay.
Only when I was down there, because they never came out this way while I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about the size of it.
Do you have any photos that you're aware of any of the uncles and aunts?
Of what?
Uncles and aunts, your dad's siblings?
Aunt
As I have a picture of all of them except for Angie.
Angie.
That one I can't seem to get.
I don't think I got one of her, but
Okay.
Over there behind, next to that wall, there's a photo album over there.
Okay.
And there should be something in there. I'm not so sure what it is.
Okay.
It's been a long time since I looked at it.
Yeah.
But somebody was, my son Chris had it out the other day looking at some of his old photos in there.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's some of my kids, but I'm not so sure about. Let me see if I can Uncle Skeets and Uncle Major's photographers up here.
Okay.
We may be able to.
And I do have some of them too. I think
Oh,
Angie
you
is
have?
pretty much the only one I don't really have a
Okay,
good
well-
photo of.
well, no, I don't have Aunt Angie's
Okay.
picture.
Okay.
I wish I did.
All right.
In fact, some of those that are up there, I'm gonna have to throw them out. They're just taking up space.
They've been gone a long time ago. Except the closer relatives.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, is there anything that we haven't discussed that you'd like to get on the record for record, the sake of being on the record or for future generations who will see this?
Uh,
Or anything you'd like to say specifically to your children or about your children or your grandchildren? A message to them, and you can look into this camera if you'd like to look into a camera, probably. Which one?
Okay. We'll go with this one because
One of them.
yeah.
Okay.
well, I'm so in love with my grandkids. I don't know what to do. I just wish I could see them all when they accept Jesus Christ and get baptized. That's my thing. For them, I got 2 of them left here. The others, I really don't know who they are or where most of them are, except the one in Ohio. And I think he's pretty much okay. But I haven't heard they haven't caused any trouble. The oldest boy that's here, Jalel is his name. And Chris named them all from biblical scripture. So don't ask me to spell it. I don't know what he did. The first one is named Jalel. I can't even think of the middle name. But the second one is named Eliakim. And there, on that photo there. And the daughter is named, what's my granddaughter's name?
Is that how you-
Amina. Yeah, Amina, that's her name. And the boy is named Adar. And so it took me a while to get used to that. But they're very nice kids. And gifted too. Yeah. I had them over here a couple of weeks ago praying for them all, along with their dad. And I got to asking them questions about what they wanted to do and all of that. And I forgot most of what they said. But the oldest boy, Jalel, wants to be a rapper. I said, oh, Lord. Here we go. And he is supposed to be pretty good at it. That's what his dad says. For a while, the second boy, wanted to be a computer programmer or something, some kind of computer expert. I don't know what he was.
but computers are over my head. It was right as far as the sun is to the moon. Third child, Daric. First thing he says, I'm not sure yet. I said, okay, but take your time. You don't have to rush into nothing. So, but and my kids, I'm just proud of all of them, except the one that I've told you about. It's not that I don't love him, I do, but I'm just not proud of what he got himself into, and I can't be, because that way they would be being a part of what he's into. That's all. I want everybody to know my birthday is 2 Sundays from now, June 13th. That's all.
And you say you'll be 83?
83. Yeah, 83.
Well, we look forward to God blessing you with another year and celebrating you and celebrating with you. And you say you plan to be at Greater New Vision on that day.
I'm going to try my best. Try my best. I just wish I could get the lady that named me to come out so I could publicly fuss at her for naming me Luscious. I tell you, Levada's sweet. I hadn't seen her, but I've talked with her a couple of times within the last 3 or 4 months. And she's been very friendly, but I don't know if she's going to make it out on the second Sunday. I don't have very much faith in that.
Do you have a middle name?
No.
No, okay.
Well, I gave myself one years ago.
You and Uncle Reg and Uncle Johnny?
Yeah.
So what was yours?
Well, I started out with, let me see.
Even Uncle Tanzo, I think all of them gave us.
Lacani.
Oh my goodness. You and Uncle John chose Lacani.
Yeah, I started out with Alton.
Oh boy.
And when I changed it, Dad started fussing. Oh, you keep that name. There wasn't nothing wrong with Alton. But I changed it from Alton to Lacani. And on my original a little card you sent to the government to get your Social Security number, it's Lucious Alton Pope. On my original. And that's about it.
And you eventually just dropped them both, huh?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, and before we wrap up, I wanted to, if you had anything in particular to mention about the grandparents. Grandpa Charles, Grandma Nancy,
Well,
and Crawford was too.
that was a husband and wife team. And they were, well, what can I say? They were staunch churchgoers. I can't really say a whole lot about either one of them, except Grandma kept a long dress on all the time. I never did see her legs, I don't think. Grandpa had an old car that he worked on all the time. And that was it when I was small while they were living. Well, actually, Grandpa died, I believe, in '54, somewhere like that. Shortly after, Uncle Oliver Reginald's dad passed in '51, I think. And Grandpa Charles passed in '54, if I'm not correct. It could have been '53. On my mom's side, it was the same thing with her dress. It was Grandma's dress, Grandma Mag. It was always long. And Grandpa Kai's, they separated kind of early. I barely knew him. Barely knew him. I know that Uncle Skeet, my mama's brother, who was the son of Grandpa Kai's and Grandma Mag, lived with his parents. His wife died from childbirth. AD, we call it ADC. I was very small at the time. We lived up the hill from them. And I remember when he left the house one winter evening, had to walk uptown to get the doctor. And when he got back, she was gone. But of course, he married a couple more times. But he was one of my favorite aunts. I mean, he was one of my favorite uncles.
Okay.
Boy, I'm telling
Say,
you.
ooh, you telling secrets, huh?
Well, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Like I was like this.
Ooh, what? Do tell. Tell me more.
I better quit while I'm here. Oh my! But he was quite a jokester. He was quite a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah. Do you know if you my uncles and my mom were also delivered by Grandma Nancy?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. They never discussed that around us kids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know. That's something to ask about. I really don't know.
You have your birth certificate, by the way?
I don't know where
You don't know where it is. Okay.
I can't. It has Lyman Pope on there. And I guess it might tell us who delivered me, but
Yeah, it might.
I don't know if it does or not.
Yeah. How was Lyman spelled, by the way?
Limmon.
Okay.
Another reason for me changing it.
And then giving it to Chris with a different spelling.
There you go,
L-E.
Lamont. There you go.
From Lyman to Luscious to...
From Luscious to Lyman.
From Luscious to Lyman.
Then Luscious to Lucious, from Lucious to Lyman.
Let's just Lyman.
Luscious Lyman.
There you go.
All right, Daric, did you have any questions or anything I missed?
No, Jesus cares. That's what I'm getting.
Jesus cares. You got what you came for. Huh?
All right.
All right. Well, I guess that concludes our session with Lucious Pope, as he is
There
known
you go.
today.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you so much again.
It's been my pleasure. I enjoyed you guys being here. And of course, it brought back so many memories for me.
Yes. And like I said, Nora Pope has 6 children who love you dearly. So if we can help your other 2 children who are helping to take care of you, please reach out.
I thank you for that. I really do. But I'm trusting the Lord will help me get better.
Yes.
I really am.
Also, we'll continue to send our prayers up for you, and I put our trust in Him as well.
All right.
All right. So until the next time, this is Cathy Pope signing out, and our technician is the faithful
in thine heart that God has raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. And that's right now, if you truly believe. But you need to make a public stand. You need to come down the aisle and give your life publicly before this congregation to Jesus. Don't worry about what you feel and what you don't feel. God bless you. Is there one more? Won't you come? Praise His name. Won't you come to Him today, wherever you are? Won't you come? So grateful, but I have cried. Is there one more? In my life, what would my life be? Oh, without Him, won't you come today? It would be so dark and dreary when I'm sad. The Lord cheers me when I'm lonely. He will my comfort be. That's why I'm grateful. my friend and my foes turn against me. When it seems I have been on my road, there is still a small